back to part 4 of strawberry rhubarb mead. This is 1 gallon of strawberry rhubarb. It was actually racked the very first time back on April the 21st of 2020. Today is October the 23rd of 2020. That's 6 months that this wine has been sitting in this 1 gallon jar. And today we're going to do our second racking down into this jug, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about finding agents. Okay, so it's very important at each racking to take a look at your specific gravity again. I've already loaded this into the test tube with a specific hydrometer in there, and I've already looked at it. Back when we did the first racking, the hydrometer reading was 1.002. That's over 1 by just a little bit. Today, 6 months later, it is at 0.998, which shows you that the yeast has continued to work and to eat the sugars and to create a drier, mead over that 6 months time. So we're below 1. We're probably a little bit on the dry side. It's okay, we can back sweeten it if we want to, but at this point, that's the specific gravity. Okay, so after 6 months of this mead working, if you want to get an idea how much clarity has developed from the settling, I recommend using a flashlight, mostly with a sharp edge, and shine it through onto a dark surface like this. And when you shine it through, if you can see a good sharp image on the other side, you got a pretty good clarity going on. And when I look at this, I like the look of it. It's definitely clarified a lot. So since we're along in the process 6 months and the specific gravity is below 1, it is a good time to put some in a glass and actually to give it a little check for flavor. This looks very nice. Has a nice kind of a reddish orange color, and definitely is not sweet, but it's not bitter or anything either. It's I have to say, I can aftertaste some of that strawberry, and it's on the bright side because it has that rhubarb in it, and rhubarb is a tart flavor. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the clarity and something called finding agents. There are different varieties of finding agents, and they're meant to actually clarify your wine or your mead even more. Actually, they use it in beer as well. So today I'm just going to introduce you to one finding agent, which I love to use. This is called Super Clear. Okay, and it has 2 packets sold together, and it contains 2 chemicals basically. One is called Kisosol, and it's a negatively charged chemical. None of these chemicals will harm the flavor or do anything. As a matter of fact, a lot of it precipitates out. So Kisosol is one of them, and chitosan is the second one. You use these at different times. Using the Kisosol first, it actually creates a negative charge within your mead or your wine or your beer, and you mix it in and you leave it in there for about an hour minimum. You can leave it in there up to 24 hours before you add the chitosan, and then you're going to want to stir it lightly, add the chitosan after a period of time, and then you'll see another settling, and a lot of this negative and then chitosan being a positive charged chemical going in, it starts clumping things together, and any big molecules or anything just start to clump with these 2 charges, and they just drop out, and the clarity level goes way up. I highly recommend it if you want to have really clean looking meads. when you pour that glass, this results in a really nice looking, clear, clean looking mead. Okay, so using this super clear, it's called, there's two chemicals together. I just split the package. I'm going to use the Kisosol first. I just clip the corner here. And this, I didn't tell you previously, but this package will actually treat 5 gallons. So you don't need all of this. I'm going to be doing some other ones in the same time frame. So I'm just going to add about a quarter of this package to my jug that I'm going to be siphoning into. I'm doing it at the same time because the siphoning will actually stir this in, and I won't have to actually put anything else in there to stir it, and it'll help maintain the cleanliness involved here, the sanitation. So okay, so it wasn't very much that I really needed to add. Okay, so I've added the Kisosol to my receptor jug, and I've got a auto siphon set up here. This is going to start the siphoning process straight through and into the jug. And I will remind you that we want to minimize as little possible as air getting into this. So the siphoning tube is all the way down in the bottom of my receiving jug, all the way down to the bottom, so that it flows into the liquid and no air comes through. There's no bubbles coming through. Once we get this down to its final stages, air is oxygen itself is a negative. All right, so we're siphoning the second racking. I'm going to transfer my labels. This is the type of yeast that I use, the EC1118. And I've already written on my notes tape information that today, October 23rd, is the second racking, and that the specific gravity right now is 0.998. All right, so once that gets racked the second time, we'll put another lock on it. And I got to come back, remember, in after at least an hour, and I have to add some chitosan. And those two, remember, positive, negative, positive charges will create another precipitation to clarify this even clearer. Okay, it's been a couple hours since I did the second racking on this strawberry rhubarb mead. And if you'll remember, when we did the second racking, we put the first part of this this super clear fining agent for clarifying. We put the Kisosol in when we'd racked it off, stirred it up a little bit. So the Kisosol's in there. It represents a negative charge, and it sort of set this up so that it's pretty much the liquid is negatively charged in there. Okay, so we're doing the second part now. It's been at least 2 or 3 hours since I did that. This is chitosan, and the directions request that you put this chitosan in about 30 milliliters of water. Now I use distilled water. This jar was cleaned and sanitized before I put the distilled water and the chitosan in it. And you know, I just stirred it up. And if you'll remember, this represents an amount for 5 gallons, which we don't need. I'm going to use about a quarter of it in my 1 gallon jug. I might wait a little more, but it won't hurt. And then this needs to be stirred in. So you can get this tool at your handy brewer's supply, and it's really long. It's meant to go in a carboy, in a 5-gallon jug, and you can actually put it on the end of a drill and you spin it around and you can see it will stir it up. Now I can just do this by hand. I did get I've got too much in there, so I'm just going to have to do a quick demo here. You can pretty much do this. Now I don't know if you can tell, but that chittisand is definitely having a reaction. It went from a clearer liquid to a foggy liquid, but that will not last. That will only be like this for maybe a day or two at the most. Okay, so we've added the chittisand. These are paper towels that have actually been in the sanitized water as well. So now, let me explain one other thing that I did. In checking the specific gravity, it was down at 998, which says it's very dry. At this point in the process, I have added this potassium sorbate, and this is a chemical that will arrest any more of the fermentation. My plan is, because this is very dry, to probably back sweeten it. So at this point, by adding this, I have prevented it from fermenting any more sugars. It is dead to the sugars. When it comes time to bottle, I'll be adding probably some simple syrup. I could use honey, but I think I want a clean sugar flavor to sweeten it with. 1.5 ounces per gallon raises this like 1% residual sugars. So, you know, I'm going to raise it probably 1 or 2% residual sugars to give it a little sweetener. Okay, so this is going to go back on the shelf, and should clarify in a couple days, and maybe in a week, 2 weeks or whatever, when I get the next chance, be ready for bottling. So after doing the super clear, I wanted to show you a vision of the strawberry rhubarb. This is 24 hours later, and it's clearing up very clear, very nice.